Well, Pope Francis was laid to rest in Rome at the weekend, but all the talk was about US President Donald Trump's meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky.
Trump met with the Ukrainian president before the Pope's funeral at an intimate meeting in the hush of St. Peter's Basilica, a far cry from their noisy clash at the White House back in February.
Yeah, look, I actually think this photo is extraordinary. Hopefully we can bring up the full photo on screen. In the middle of Vatican City, you have got the leader of the free world, Donald Trump, having this private one-on-one meeting with Volodymyr Zelensky. Very different scenes to the ones that we saw weeks ago, at the White House, where things got very testy between the two at that press conference. But this was a real, here it is here. I just think this is a real, it's almost a very spiritual, cathartic moment, isn't it? There it is, in the middle of the Vatican. Look, the reality is, overall, there has to be some sort of a peace deal. And hopefully, given the settings in the Vatican City, maybe it will bring some sort of level of peace. But I don't think that Donald Trump will back down on his views on this. Experts have long said that this is an unwinnable war in Ukraine. The longer it goes on, the more lives will be lost, the more innocent lives will be lost. So I think he has wedged Volodymyr Zelensky into a corner here, even though this was not the war that was started by Ukraine from the very beginning. And I do not agree with the way Donald Trump has handled it in terms of how he's been very supportive of Vladimir Putin on this matter. But something has to give soon.
There's some interesting things about this meeting. It went for about 15 minutes. Apparently it was not scheduled. No one was forewarned about it. And in the vision we just showed there, you'll note there were originally 3 chairs set up. And Trump met Zelensky with Macron, the French leader. But then very quickly, the French leader disappeared. A chair disappeared. It was just Trump and Zelensky. Read into that whatever you will. And the photographs were released, I believe, by the Ukrainian authorities, who I think were probably keen to show that Zelensky has still got some sort of relationship with Donald Trump because, as you said, it was very frosty after that February White House meeting. Yeah. My one hope for this is that this meeting, of course, was just minutes before the Pope's funeral, where world leaders were reminded that, they will one day stand and give account for the decisions they've made, not to an electorate, but to a higher power. Yeah. I just hope that they remember that, because I think sometimes they may forget that. And in the context of a funeral, maybe they're just reminded about the importance of peace. And maybe Good even, point. You know what, that maybe they should seek wisdom from above, because God help us, if we're relying on the wisdom of current day leaders, we're in all sorts of trouble. A little divine help right now would not go astray, Danica.
I think that's perfectly put. You know what bothered me, though? The lefty media was so focused on what Donald Trump was wearing.
What was he wearing, Danica? It was the colour, right?
They were colour, because he wore a blue suit to the funeral. But what the media didn't focus on was Prince William was also wearing a blue suit. There were other leaders and dignitaries there also wearing a blue suit. But, of course, it's always easy, isn't it, to pick on Donald Trump. And, it was funny as well when Zelensky was at the White House. Remember, he was criticised for not wearing a suit at the White House. So you can never win, really, James, can you?
You can't, but it's a classic example, and you were right to point that out, of how the media just zero in on every little thing with Donald Trump. Yeah. The Prince was wearing a blue suit, but that apparently was fine.